and gentlemen, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of the HyperConscious podcast. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode. Today, for episode number 331, we are going to do a 5-minute clinic on how not to go stir crazy.
So folks, before we jump into this episode, I want you to go to the HyperConsciousPodcast.com, click on join hashtag HyperConsciousNation. That is a private Facebook group. Right now, if you are craving love and connection during this social distancing, that is the place. I have set the intention to go live more frequently. Emilia and I went live last week, and we're going to engage a lot more. We have no excuse because now we have more time at home, and virtual is the only way to connect, so we're going to do that more. Also, coaching, Kevin's going to talk to you about.
Yes, so Alan and I both have a couple spots open, guys. If you're stuck at home and you are going stir crazy, it probably means that you're not making progress towards your goals. Alan and I are both virtual. We can coach you from anywhere in the world. My clients are having great success right now, building up their social medias and getting clients and all of that happy jazz. And right now is the time to do that. At the end of this, you could come out more confident, more capable, with more clarity and more courage than you ever thought you could. It just all starts with the first call, and Alan and I would love to help you with that.
Reach out on Instagram, any of the platforms, let us know. Yes. Also, real quick, we're going to talk about that on this episode. The only way to deal with massive change is to reinvent the way you operate, and that's what coaching is going to help you do. I mean, yes. Kevin and I have had to reinvent the way we operate. We've done that with each of our clients. A lot of them are actually rocking and rolling in an even better state than they were prior to this. So
yes. So cool. So somebody suggested this in HyperConsciousNation, I believe.
Yep.
I had somebody reach out to me the other day and they said, Kevin, I'm just bored. And I said, okay, well, you don't have any reason to be bored. Like, you have a ton of things you could be doing. You have a ton of things you could be learning. You have a ton of things you could be trying. And I think that if you're stir crazy or if you're feeling that way right now, there's a couple of reasons. One, you're not making progress towards something. Two, you haven't decided what you want to make progress towards because everything is switched up, right? Like if you were focused on doing fitness, like if fitness was your goal, that your goals are really, really difficult right now. Right. So you might feel stagnant. I also think that most people are connection driven, and now more than ever, it's really hard to connect. Right? It's really hard to, if you're not living with somebody, you're kind of not seeing them, or you're seeing them very rarely, or you're only seeing the same group of 2 or 3 people. So I suggested to her, I said, you have to figure out, like right now is a great time to get clear on what you want eventually. It doesn't have to be right now. Like, what's your goal? I just think that a lot of people aren't leveraging the time. And again, I've had my off days. Like I'm just getting back into the swing of things, but I haven't been bored. I've been undisciplined. And there's a big difference.
There's a big difference there.
But for me, I think it's easy to get back on track when you know this is the ultimate goal.
Way more, because right? Otherwise there is no track.
Right, and you have something that you're weighing that against. If I don't do this, this is what happens. So right. I would suggest if you're feeling stir crazy, you find connection. Get on Skype, get on Zoom like Alan and I are doing right now, get on Facetime, whatever it may be. See the people that you love. That's the reason I do my coaching calls over FaceTime, because it's more connection. So that's what I would suggest to people. And then set a list of goals for what I will have accomplished by the end of this. Read X amount of books, listen to X amount of audiobooks, take a training course, write X amount of poetry, write X amount of pages in my book. Like start setting some goals. We're actually going to talk about that later in the week.
For the next episode. So if you are love and connection based right now, it's a good time to find a connection with yourself. You know, I think it's like all of us were forced sort of off the mouse wheel and forced at home where there's not a lot going on. And if we haven't had a good relationship with ourselves and everybody's kind of like used to being so busy.
Yeah.
And now when the dust settles, it's like, well, who am I? It's like you and I had the near-death experience where we were forced to let the dust settle and like kind of create a new foundation of who we want to become. And if someone hasn't done that, I can tell why this situation would be really difficult. But now is the time to create that new foundation. So I wanted to tell a quick story here. I've got it written down. The first thing is drastic change is going to create growing pains, and it's going to condense the growing pains, because we've done a bunch of episodes on growing pains, like 3 or 4. So imagine growing pains, but all acute. In other words, in much less time. So condensing those growing pains. That's what this is, because there's so much change in such a short amount of time that we all have to reinvent ourselves. So I was on the phone with a peak performance partner of mine yesterday, and some people are really lonely right now. Other people are seeking solitude because they used to get a lot more solitude. So for example, his girlfriend was a teacher and she's no longer allowed to go to school and teach, obviously. And so he and her are both at home and they live together, and they used to spend a lot less time together. Now they're in the same room. And for this person, this peak performance partner of mine, and it's nothing against him, but he's very, very focused and he gets a lot done in solitude. He's a very, very productive human being. So if you're on the other side of, you do have goals, you do have dreams, you are trying to be productive while under the same roof of your loved ones, that can be a real challenge. And the key here of this episode, the one takeaway is like, listen, the whole world right now just changed drastically for now. Okay. There's a lot of growing pains that get condensed and that hurt a lot with that. The only way to move forward is to reinvent yourself, reinvent the way you operate. So if you didn't have a vision before of where you want to go, that's where you reinvent yourself and figure out what you really want out of life. If you already knew where you wanted to go and now you're trying to figure out how to get there in a new way, now is the time to reinvent the way you operate. And those are the only two real solutions that I've found. And I've been doing that with myself and my clients, Kevin, other people we mastermind with. I mean, we just had a mastermind call last Friday, and all of us are still getting after it. We're just getting after it in a very different way. Yeah. Last thing I'll say here is, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good. You're good.
Last thing I'll say here is waiting versus building. So I always do this. Imagine two people. One person is waiting for this storm to end. The other person is figuring out how to sail forward through the storm. One of those people is going to be in a position to help other people at the end of this thing. And I just want to make sure that our listeners are on that side of the train tracks.
I think it's a balance between growing pains and slowing pains. Like, you were growing and maybe you're slowing now and you don't feel like you're getting any closer. So you feel stagnant.
Right.
You know, I think that's where I think you're probably on one end or the other. Like, you're figuring out how to build your business in this time of crisis, or you're figured like, I can't do anything right now. If you don't have clarity, you're not going to feel like you can or should do anything. You're not going to have the motivation to do anything, because it's easy to, everybody in the world, not everybody, but a lot of people are staying home and snuggling up and watching Netflix. And again, that's fine. You do your thing. But if you don't have any reason not to do that, the pull is going to be way stronger to do that.
Dude, right.
Like, why would you do that?
Right.
So I think it's that. I think I would use this time to get crystal clear. And again, if you have been saying, I don't have time for that, like, this is the time for that. Right.
Powerful.
This is a great time to do a lot of things. It's not a great time to do a lot of other things, but you know, if you're inside and you can do an online training program, right? Alan and I are both going to make online training programs. I've been working on it. Alan's been working on his.
Yeah.
If you're going to write a book, like, now is a great time. If you're going to start a podcast, now is a great time. Like, it's a great time to do a lot of things.
Especially if you were ever going to start a business and then right now you're not able to work at your normal job, now's the time to start doing research and start your business. That's another huge thing.
All right.
The last thing I'll say real quick, I know the timer went off a minute ago. Discipline. Right now, if you do know where you're headed, you need more discipline. If you don't know where you're headed, you need to reinvent yourself and where you want to go. Discipline, remember, is doing something that you know is what's best for you, even though you don't feel like doing it. I feel like that is so important right now. So I just want to say that.
Appreciate that. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you enjoyed this. Up next, we are going to do proactive gratitude versus reactive gratitude. A lot of people are practicing reactive gratitude right now because they're grateful for the things that they're missing out on. And Alan and I always say, like, there's one day for Thanksgiving, but imagine if you did that every single day. Your life would be infinitely different. Part of my morning routine is writing down things that I'm grateful for and trying to feel those things. Right. And it's a time like this where you realize how many things you took for granted and now you regret that. So the goal of that episode is to help you proactively figure out what you're grateful for. And that way you can focus on that. So when times like this happen, you miss the things, but you don't feel bad about the fact that you took them for granted for so long.
Right. So true.
You dig? You got anything to add on that? I know I did a fire job, but
you did do a fire job. I think gratitude is a practice that we shouldn't just do when we're in pain. We should try to do it and be proactive about it. So you said it better than I did, but the next episode is going to be fire. Do not miss that.
Perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, we will talk to you on Wednesday.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.